And tonight, nationwide opioids crackdown. We are live in the northern region, described as Ghana's opioids epicenter, where a joint police and narcotics control commission operation has destroyed over 500,000 cedis worth of opioids and other contraband.
Some as high as 225, 250 and the likes. And these are all unregistered products. Yes, most often are not.
Also tonight, the opposition NPP describes President Mahama's first 100 days in office as, quote, a total failure.
And I can argue to you they won the election on balance based on the promise that they were going to do some 24-hour economy. They were chanting all around 1-3-3-3, given that one job, 3 people, 3 shifts they were going to do. Where is that?
We assess what has been achieved in the last 100 days and hear from the government. Also tonight, we tell you why the NPP is questioning President Mahama's latest efforts to bring Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger back into the ECOWAS fold, with the president's latest invitation to the military leaders.
I don't know what kind of report the president gave the chairman of the union, being the Nigerian president, President Tinubu, but I think that.
Well, health experts also tonight, researchers also demand urgent action from government to tackle air pollution, including removing polluting vehicles from the streets.
And that's why we are calling that we should have a national policy.
And either get rid of them by not giving them roadworthy, or we need to tax them heavily.
In business.
And government rejects suggestions that Ghana will lose out on attracting fresh foreign direct investment over how it has handled the review of Goldfields Diamond Man lease.
And it's also tell you about Ghana's long-distance runner William Aponsa, who has now set a new national record in 10,000 meters at the Brian Clay Invitational in the USA.
All that plus your views and comments here on Newsnight 05511119997. Details after this. So live your Newsnight is on Joy 99.7 FM. Ghana recently attracted international headlines when the BBC blew the lid on the northern region's opioids crisis. Tonight, state security agencies have swung into action targeting the region described as Ghana's opioids epicenter. In the last few hours, the police in collaboration with the Narcotics Control Commission and other stakeholders have destroyed opioids, marijuana and other contraband worth more than 500,000 cedis. Earlier this month, a total of 230 cartons of opioids were also destroyed after it was intercepted at the Tema port. My colleague Martina Bugri is live on the ground in the northern region tonight and joins us on the line. Martina, what more do we know about today's operation to destroy the opioids?
So these are drugs that were seized by the police during their operations in the area, and these cases were sent to court. After the court verdict, some of them were fined, and if they fail to pay the fine, they'll be jailed. Now, the court ordered that after the case is done, they needed to have these things bent. So today, the police and its allied forces joined forces this morning at the Malayan landfill site where they bent these goods that we are talking about.
And give us a sense of the extent of the problem in the northern region, described as the epicenter. We obviously saw the international headlines recently.
Now it's a major issue, you know, and the research conducted by the UDS shows that 58% of the region's youth have done drugs before, and they are normally these tramadol, this red they call, and marijuana. Now the situation is so serious that a task force was proposed and then sanctioned by the governor. They have done it in communities. They move from community to community, and they have confiscated quite substantial these drugs that we are talking about. You have incidents where somebody will be walking and say you can't find his head. You are talking and say you can't find your head. You have somebody driving or riding a tricycle, tax, and then start misbehaving. There are a lot of incidents. You have find people walking and sleeping. You know, these stories are very common in the region. That's just how I extend it. It's not the region's capital. But all the districts you visit, you have stories of tramadol use, which people are worried about.
You talk about tramadol. You've been talking to the Food and Drugs Authority today on this operation and many others. What have they been telling you?
Now they're saying that what it does to you is that, and in some instances, some people die even using drugs. Now you get high, you begin to misbehave. It sometimes affects your entire system. This is about 250 grams, and the limit that has been officially sanctioned is 10. So you can see the variation very high. And this is what people are putting into their system. We have people collapsing because they have taken tramadol. We have people some even dying because of these drugs used in the area.
Tramadol products are supposed to be registered. They are pharmaceutical products. They're supposed to be registered before we issue market authorization. There are grams that are acceptable that you can register, and in Ghana the acceptable limits are 100 mg and milligrams. And as you can see, observe, we have some as high as 225, 250 and the likes, and these are all unregistered products. Yes, most often are not. These are products that were seized from retailers, not wholesalers. We can always speak to addiction, and then of course, if you take beyond the recommended dosage, the effects are enormous, and it can result in seizures, drowsiness. There are a lot, and of course, it depends on the consumer or the user.
Thankfully, we can speak to the Deputy Director General of the Narcotics Control Commission, Alexander Chumberima. Their commission was part of today's operation to burn and destroy those opioids. Joins us on the line right now, Alexander. I'm grateful that you could join me. We talk about 500,000 cedis worth of opioids that you destroyed. Give us specifics about some of the drugs that you had to destroy today.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. As you rightly indicated, this is a 225 and 250 opioid, and as it's sometimes called, they are drugs that are not permitted, or as the FDA said, they've not registered it. But people, for whatever reason, get to have them, and they hide them in their pharmacies and other things and be selling them to these our young men and women. And unfortunately, it's causing a serious havoc on their lives, yet they keep on going after it. So what NACOC intends or have been doing in the last few months or days is to be chasing or looking out for people who are trading in these things and getting them arrested, and even those who are importing them. So if you, as you indicated earlier, some few weeks ago, we were at the Mapot where we had seized a 40-feet container which was full of this 225 and 250 tabs. Then, according to them, they said it was transiting from Ghana to Niger. But we seized it because we will not allow our borders to be used for illicit, traffic of certain drugs. Alongside, we will also not permit anybody to pretend to be taking it away, but before you realize it, to find its way back into the country. Yeah.
And this very operation that led to the seizure of the items you've just destroyed, where are you finding these? Are these simply in the markets, in people's homes, in particular hideouts?
Well, some are with people who are having pharmacies across the country. But not too long ago, we were in Western North Region to arrest an operator and then an owner of a pharmacy in the Western North region who were also trading in this.
You mean licensed pharmacies, or these are illegal pharmacies set up to sell drugs?
Oh, no, they are well, I would say they are registered ones or certified ones. Yes. Funny enough, because they know that it's illegal, they don't even display it in their counters. They hide it in some boxes or some bags within the premises. And then those who want them, when they get there or when they approach them, they bring it out and sell it to them. That's what they do. But one dangerous thing also is that when you pick most of these tablets, on the face of it, you reckon that it's only the so-called country that they said they are bringing it from, that you find it on. So you can, for instance, you can find made in India, just by example, made in India. But you will not see which particular company or manufacturer in India manufactured that particular tablet.
I mean, considering that you have pharmacies licensed to operate legally, and yet you're doing this and hiding it, the agencies that license must be involved in this. Do they know about what is happening across the country, and to what extent are they involved in dealing with violators?
Well, I think when it comes to the pharmacies, I know that the institution that regulates them also go around to check their people alongside the FDA to do that. Not too long ago, I think just about last week or so, if I'm right, there was an exercise, a joint exercise between FDA and NACOC. And I think customs also. We did it in the Tema enclave, that is Tema, Ashama, and those areas, and some part of Medina. We had an operation there to chase people who were having it in their pharmacies, alongside even those who don't even operate pharmacies or drugstores or whatever name you may call it. Yet they have it in their kiosks and other things. People do that. They have it in their kiosks. And some even in the pubs or as they normally call it, the local beer bars or whatever that you may call. And they have it there, they hide it there and sell it to this, young men and women. But all those people, we look out for them. One thing is that we have a lot of intel in some of the regions, but for them, I can't tell you now. But I know that in the next few days, you'll be hearing more of these stories because we are going to strike on all of them.
And this is a nationwide crackdown, correct?
Yes, please.
And
yes, please.
As we've seen, many describe, just talking to Martina, Northern region seem to be the epicenter. Some have described this as that. Why is that? Because where is it coming from? Is it coming through the south, through the ports? And if so, why is it traveling all the way to the north? What is it in the north that is making it an epicenter?
Okay, so I think that with the north, for instance, you know the earlier instance that I mentioned, which is the port one that I said, they said it was going to Niger. Definitely, if you go through Tamale or the northern sector, let me just say that for a fact that if you go through the northern sector to Niger, but human beings, they will find a way of sometimes even diverting some of those things back into the country through the unapproved routes that they normally use. That is the challenge that we are having. There are several unapproved routes, and those are the routes that they normally use. Use in transporting or bringing in this kind of illicit drugs.
I see, and you've promised that this is going to continue across the country. And you've made arrests already. Are we seeing prosecutions?
Oh yes, anybody that we arrest, prosecution is the next.
What about the kingpins, those who are actually financing this and bringing them into the country?
Okay, so the thing is, once investigation leads to you being a financier, we are definitely going to arrest you. So you saw what I told you earlier on regarding the Western North one. We didn't just arrest the operator, the one who was in the shop selling it. We went ahead to even arrest the owner of the shop. That's how we do it. We don't just arrest those who are just trading it. We look out for even the supplier, among other things. And once we find them, we arrest them also and then prosecute them.
I'm grateful. Thank you very much. Alexander Chumberima, the Deputy Director General of the Narcotics Control Commission, NARCOC. I want you to join me with your thoughts. If you live in the northern region, let me hear from you. 055-11-11997 on the day when a joint security operation have destroyed some 500,000 cedis worth of opioids there, described as the opioid center of Ghana. Live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. You may have missed it, but I can tell you the John Mahama administration is marking its 101 days in office. And as you know, it is a milestone to assess what has been achieved in the last 100 days. And already there are questions being raised by the opposition New Patriotic Party. It was an ambitious agenda for his 120 days in office to transform Ghana. And today marks exactly 101 days since he was sworn in, John Mahama I'm talking about, with just 20 days to go until the deadline of his own 120-day social contract. The spotlight is now firmly on delivery. Some of the major policies the president had tasked himself to execute includes the LI that we know would allow for students to have first-year students to get free go to school free in the tertiary level, at least for the first year, a scrapping of the e-levy, COVID-19 levies as well, admission levy, training of more than 1 million youth in coding. There's a million youth in coding program, which was recently launched out of the 25 promises made in the contract. Joy News is checking this and can reveal only 8 have been fully fulfilled, with the rest either in progress or yet to begin. I want to bring in my colleague, Papania Shale. We've been digging into this, assessing this over the last 100 days, and he joins me in the studio with more. What's the current status of President John Mahama's 100-day social contract?
Well, Evans, rightly as you mentioned, out of the 25 key promises made in this 120-day social contract, we know that 8, representing 32%, have so far been fully completed. 9 from our checks are currently in progress, and 8 are yet to be started. And in all, that makes it around 68% of the promises are still outstanding, with just 19 days to go.
What are some of the promises that have already been fulfilled fully?
Well, Evans, so the government, we know, has successfully held national dialogues on both the economy and then education, part of the promises that they made. It has also introduced the free tertiary education for persons with disability. And we know that at least from the budget side, government's policy, they have made allocation to make sure that there's no fee stress for level 100s. That allocation has been made. But as to whether the students' fees have been paid or have been, those who already paid have been reversed back to them, we'll find out shortly probably from government. But we know that there's some allocation have been made at the budget level for that. Again, also, the controversial e-levy and betting tax and emissions tax have all been scrapped. Just less than a month ago, all of these have been done. Another key promise delivered is allocation of funds to the Women's Development Bank.
And which promises are yet to be tackled?
Well, some of the pledges that remain untouched include the establishment of a code of conduct for government officials, a review of taxes on imported vehicles and industrial or agricultural equipment, and the creation of an accelerated export development council. Other unfulfilled promises include a ban on political appointees acquiring state assets, as well as plans to review the Customs Act to allow salvaged vehicles into the country, Evans.
But there's some of these promises that they've begun yet to fully fulfill. It's, say, describe them as in progress.
Yeah. So we know at least the Mahama administration has begun work on forming what it calls the leanest and most efficient government. The groundwork has also been laid for the 24-hour economy initiative. Additionally, forensic audits have been launched into allegations of financial mismanagement under the previous administration. We started definitely with the Orals Committee. The Attorney General has taken some of those up urgently and is sending some of them to court pretty shortly. So, Evans, among some of the things that are in progress, these are some of the things that they have started but not fully completed.
Thank you very much. We would focus on the education sector pretty shortly, because that also saw a major promise made as far as the implementation of a few policies are concerned. But tonight we're hearing from the main opposition, New Patriotic Party. They've already delivered their verdict. They say it is a total failure. Let me bring in the Director of Communications for the party, Richard Ihagba, joins us on the telephone line right now. Richard, can you justify to me why you say that in the past 100 days have been a total failure?
All right. Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. How else can you describe it? It's a total failure when you have indicated to people for purposes of obtaining their votes, and you've got the votes, and you have 120 days to deliver in exchange or in compensation to the votes that you have gotten. You have not delivered. They went ahead and were looking for the low-hanging fruits. Yesterday, hurriedly, they launched the 1 million coders program and all of that. It's a total abysmal failure. We knew this all along.
I mean, you say it's a total abysmal failure. Let's take the example you just cited, the 1 million coders program. One of the things that we did was to check if indeed there is any real substantive basis to launch the program. And to do that, you need to check the platform that was created to take registrations and create the path to the training. We went through the entire thing. My team actually attempted to register. It was flawless to the point where they actually sent us an aptitude test that you took, and you now get shortlisted to join. And they've done all this. The minister has been there for just 60 days. How do you describe that as a total failure?
No, I'm not describing the Coders program as total failure. I'm talking about the social contract which was supposed to be delivered. We're expecting 100% delivery because they didn't say they were going to deliver 50%, 60%, 70%. They said they would deliver those in 120 days.
If you put it in the context of 120 days, they are 100 days, right? You're assessing 100 days. They have 20 more days to go, and they can do way more. Close to 120 days.
Absolutely. Okay. They can argue that if that's what they're arguing, that in 20 days they will do the more than 70% that is outstanding. Fair enough, they can do that. But I'm just saying that where I sit, and the rate at which they are moving, I don't see them delivering near 50% of that, and that is a failure in of itself. But you see, more seriously, in respect of some of the items that they needed to actually do and convince people, even if they don't complete all of them, somebody will say that they made a deliberate effort. What's this matter to do with the Galamsey? A real low-hanging fruit. You promised that you were going to ban mining in our forests. Today, Galamsey in our country has gotten worse. Okay, it's gotten worse.
And how do you measure that? How do you measure that? What's the evidence to say it's worse? Worse than you left it. I mean, what's the evidence to say it's worse than you left it?
But talk to your colleague Erastus. Talk to Dr. Kedasigwe, who are in the trenches all the time, engaged in this matter.
Yeah, what they tell you is that Galamsey is still happening. I'm just questioning when you say it's worse. That's a degree.
But Evans,
how do you measure that degree?
Evans, what measure were you using under NPP to gauge that Galamsey is bad? What measure were you using?
Galamsey is bad then. It's bad now.
The same measure you were using the waters. Are the waters clear? Is that was that the case?
So stability.
Are people still in our forest, devastating the forest in search of gold? Is that the case?
People are still devastating the forest. That's factual. The water is still turbid, but you have to be a bit more scientific to tell us, well, what's the turbidity level right now compared to, say, when you left office? Then we can, begin to understand why you say it's worse. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, Evans, if there's nothing scientific about this conversation, they have stated clearly in the social contract that you will ban mining in our forests. The only way you can achieve that is when you repeal the LI. You cannot achieve that by any other means. So if you haven't done that, you haven't achieved your promise, or you haven't fulfilled your promise. So it's as simple as that. There's nothing scientific, complicated, or spiritual about it. It's straightforward, black and white. You haven't done it. So if they have done it, we will see it. They call for a state of emergency when they were in opposition. Where is it? They are in power. They haven't done it. And the thing is getting worse. Only you, if you haven't seen it, but it is all over the place. Galamsey has taken a turn for the worse. So the point is that, quite simply, in 101 days, the NDC has failed to deliver on their 120 days. Now, you can make a reasonable argument that they have 19 days. Fair enough, we can wait, give them 19 days and see what the wonders they can do. But I have always known, and we have always cautioned Ghanaians that, look, these guys, we've seen them before. Okay, they are not a new element. They are known quantities. They have failed before, okay, and they are going to fail. This business about 24-hour economy, Evans, where is 24-hour economy? Where is it?
Well, you look at the way to assess what you're doing and the level of success in the last 100 days as it relates to some of their big flashy promises is, are they making allocations to these? Have they found a way to fund it? If you look at the budget, for example, 1.4 billion for agriculture for economic transformation agenda, budgeted for, they provided it there. 51.3 million seed fund for establishment of women's development fund. They've ticked that box. 300 million national apprenticeship program, tick that box. 100 million for a Jumeirah program, tick that box. The national coders program, 100 million, tick that box. You talk about 100 million has again be allocated for the payment of the monthly allowance to all assembly members, tick that box. That clearly it's a government that appears to have a plan.
So, Evan, out of the 26 or so items in the social contract, they've completed 8, my check. Okay, that even though partially, but they have attempted in real terms 8 of them. Okay, the remaining ones have not been done. So the assessment is straightforward. This the marking scheme is clear. There is no way to go and mention anything that it is the way to look at it. It's very clear. It's a binary situation. It's either they have achieved it or they haven't. And the evidence is that they have. Okay? Now, it doesn't preclude them from continuing to do it in the next 4 years, which is their mandate. But what we have before us, what they committed themselves to, is 120 days to deliver. But they haven't delivered. Let's be clear and say that. Then we can talk about other things. So let's not excuse for them.
Let's talk about the other things. One of the key ones that we can look at in the education sector, government hoping to implement this 121 days free tertiary fees for level 100 students. And we know the government allocated significant amounts of money to this. Listen to Harun Idrissa. I want to bring in, subsequent to that, Clement Park, his deputy, on the question of where we are with implementation.
President Mahama and the NDC promised free tuition for students from level 100 who would undertake normal programs in the various public universities of our country, including what he has said expanded to private tertiary institutions. The number, a population for which the country will require about 345 million Ghana cedis. Of the population of students who enter tertiary institutions, that is what the state will be required to do. We intend to provide that money to the affected universities, at least one to make refund to all those who have already paid those fees. So we intend to mobilize with the Ministry of Finance some additional financing to cater for the population of students. It will be in the region of 125,000 as I look at it. And we'll provide 375 million Ghana cedis to support that. So every student who has paid will have a refund of his money.
Dr. Clement Park is the Deputy Education Minister, joins us on the line right now. Your boss just said some additional funding you're looking to be released from the Finance Minister. I thought this was already settled in the budget. Clarify that.
Well, let me say good evening to you, and to indicate that I am currently in my constituency. As you know, we are in the processes of confirming nominees of the president to become our district chief executives. Today was the turn of Busa South. So I've been in my constituency. Thankfully, that exercise has been successfully concluded. Even I think the minister was very clear in his pronouncement. The government policy to support students in the tertiary institutions is twofold. One is to take up the academic fee of, if you like, regular students. The other is to pay the fee for students with disability. What I know, which is what the minister has said, is that that commitment is being fulfilled. I say it's being fulfilled because as at the time students were reporting to school, the John Dramani Mahama-led NDC government had not yet presented a budget. It had not been approved. Consequently, we had no money available to address the issue that we had said we were going to address. It was within that context that the Honorable Minister for Education made the earlier statement indicating that those students who would have paid, because at the time government didn't have the resources to pay for them in advance, would get reimbursed. Now what I know is this: because the same students are going to be continuing, rather than the fiscal reimbursement, going forward as they go into their second year, what should have come to them to defray their academic fee for the first year will become a credit, which will then mean that as they go to second year, they wouldn't have to pay because they had already paid for their first year.
So they'll not be physically refunded as was initially communicated.
That cannot be the case because the logistics of it, and even to ensure that we avoid any impropriety, the monies will never go to students directly. It is going to go to the universities on the basis of calculations in terms of the numbers and the amounts having been arrived at between GTEC, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, which is mandated to superintend over tertiary education in Ghana, and the Student Loan Trust. So it will be directly remitted to the universities or tertiary institutions on behalf of the students.
I mean, but let's talk about allocation very briefly. And I still have with me on the line the Director of Communications on the line from the NPP. I mean, it's one thing to allocate the funds. It's one thing to disperse it. How much of what was allocated in the budget do you have in your account now to fully implement this particular promise?
Well, you heard the minister indicate very clearly that we expect to spend not less than $340 million thereabout, a million cedis thereabout on this exercise. And so that is the baseline that we are working from.
Is that money in your account?
It could be more, it could be less, depending on the enrollments.
Is that money in your
account? But that is the expectation.
Is that money in your account as we speak?
Well, I have no reason to believe that that money is not in our account.
But you also don't have a reason or evidence to suggest that it is there.
The allocation has been made, and we expect that the resources will be available to undertake the commitment.
Another
that
promise,
we know for a fact.
Another promise that you put your reputations to execute in 120 days. Of course, we are counting 100 days now. Is it commence the distribution of free sanitary pads to female students in primary and secondary schools. Where are you with that?
In fact, the minister had made public that I believe around the 21st or so, there is going to be the launch of the free sanitary pad to students in secondary and junior high schools. So in probably just in about a week or less, there should be the formal launch of this policy as well.
Did you say this launch will happen on the 21st of April?
Yes, I'll cross-check because I'm in my constituency. I don't have access to my notes.
I mean, that will be a holiday. It's Easter Monday.
Yeah, so obviously it can be on Easter Monday then.
And let's look at the big picture though. And so talking about your 120-day social contract and marking 100 days in office, so far you've already managed to achieve, your government managed to achieve 32% out of the list of promises that you promised to execute in 125 days. You are a deputy education minister, so if you were a student in one of your classrooms, 32% would be a fail.
Well, I disagree, because the time given for us to write the exam has not elapsed. So it will be premature to assign a grade to me when the time given is not up. I have not finished responding to my questions yet. We gave 120 days It is not 120 days yet.
Richard Ahag, but that's your answer to the question of what they've done so far.
No problem. I think that I can agree with that argument. The only problem is that my senior brother knows it's not a realistic proposition he's making, that in 19 days they will achieve the remaining 68 or so percent, which is something that I guess I would like for them to prove me wrong. The truth is that, Evans, we want them to succeed. I want His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to succeed, except that we believe that they approached the 2024 campaign in a grand way, deceiving Ghanaians, okay, saying everything, all manner of things. And the most egregious one is this 24-hour economy. They know they can't do it. They will not be able to do it. They lied about it. Then now they said now they have to put some policy framework and all of that. Even the e-levy thing, they demonized it. They told us that COVID is gone many years ago. So what are we doing still having COVID levy on our tax books? They will remove it. They haven't removed it. It's there. It's there. They're just going around explaining and rationalizing things. So in 19 days, if my senior brother believes that they will be able to achieve standing 68%, then I wish him well. But
Okay. Richard, thank you very much. And Dr. Clement Park, all the best with what you're doing in your constituency also. I want to hear from you. You've witnessed the administration's works in the last 100 days. What's your own verdict on it? With 19 days more for them to exhaust the period for implementing 25 key promises in 120 days. Your verdict here on Newsnight. I'll share it with the rest of the world pretty shortly. George Yaffe is joining me right now with business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, some market analysts expect Citi's current stability to be sustained in the coming months, following a strong reserve position of the Bank of Ghana. And government rejects suggestions that Ghana could lose out on attracting fresh foreign direct investment over how it has handled the Goldfields Diamond Mine lease issue. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, Sinter's Tanks and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, government is rejecting suggestions that Ghana could lose out on attracting fresh foreign investment into the mining sector. It follows concerns about how it has handled the Goldfields Diamond Mine issue. Isaac Tando is the Deputy Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, has been speaking on PM Express Business Edition, which airs tonight at 9 p.m.
What we are saying is we support foreign investment, but some of these agreements cannot be in perpetuity. It cannot be forever. If you've been given a lease for 30 years and you've worked 30 years, it cannot be business as usual. Those 30 years should continue. It's about time that we realize some value within the whole chain.
Understand that some would argue that who should we blame here, because these agreements were signed by Ghanaians as a counter agent to these agreements. And if I take the Minerals Commission as an institution and not you, I mean, these agreements were signed with the advice coming from the Commission. So if today we are raising concerns about some of these mineral agreements, I mean, some will say, who do we blame?
So I wouldn't say we should blame anybody. I mean, time changes.
Isaac Tando is the Deputy Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, speaking on PM Express Business Edition, which airs tonight at 9 p.m. on Joy News and all our social media platforms as well. Let's still stay on the sector, because the African Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, has advised government to halt the takeover of the diamond mine belonging to Goldfields, which we expected that government should be taken over from tomorrow, that is April 18th. Let's hear from the Executive Director of ACEP, Ben Boachi, who has been speaking at a news conference in Accra today.
By examining the laws and the information before us, we know that the state's decision, that's the decision of the government, to take over the mine after April 18th, which is tomorrow, 2025, is premature. ACEP calls for a halt in the operations to expropriate the mine tomorrow, and the indication that tomorrow is not only Christ that will be crucified, but the mining industry risks crucifixion as well. The government need to exercise restraint, renew dialogue, and pursue a legally guided resolution that protects the interests of both the state and the investors.
Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, Ben Boachi, speaking at a news conference in Accra today, raising serious objection over government's plan to take over the Daman mine that is currently being managed by Gold Fields. And from tomorrow, we understand the government should be taking over that mine. The current stability of the Ghana cedi should be sustained in the coming months. Now, these are the views of some market analysts and bank treasurers that Joy Business has been engaging. Now, it follows revelations by the IMF that Ghana's international reserves has even exceeded the program completion target even before May 2026. Meanwhile, research lead with GCB Bank Courage, but he has been sharing his thoughts on how the current trend can be sustained going forward.
The reason the cedi is stable, quarter one typically is associated with depreciation pressures. We haven't seen that this year. Yes, there has been some depreciation, but not as pronounced. And we are seeing the level of intervention on the market, the return of confidence in the market. The speculative pressures are not as strong. And those are the things you want to see. Investors want to be sure that when I want to exit your economy, I have enough effect to do so. Traders need to be assured that there is enough supply to get in. Probably the next leg is when you begin to get portfolio investors flow back into the market, and then the liquidity sources are not just Bank of Ghana's auctions alone or through the other maybe remittances channels alone, but there are also a myriad of other options through the investment channel where FDIs are coming in, portfolio investments are coming in. That's why we need to stay the course. But I believe that the reserve accumulation, the pace we are doing it, and how it's resonating with the market is a big part of why the cedi has been stable in the first quarter.
Research lead at GCB Bank, Courage Boti. Now, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Iweala, has been pushing Ghana and other African countries to explore trading among themselves as well as raising revenue locally. Now, it follows the current global tariff hike, which is threatening some economies around the world, including Ghana. Dr. Iweala noted that this could be the best way to go ahead in trying to insulate African economies, including Ghana, against these global challenges.
The external environment has changed and is more adverse. Aid is drying up and trade is becoming more politicized. So there needs to be a focus on raising domestic resources, attracting domestic, regional and foreign investments, on faster and greater trade integration within the continent, such that intra-Africa trade is lifted well beyond the current 16%. To give an example, Africa imports an estimated $7 billion worth of textiles. There is no reason why Lesotho's $240 million worth cannot be absorbed within the continent. Africa needs to look at how it trades more within Africa and also with the rest of the world. Now, let me end with lessons. What lessons are we learning, or at least am I learning? We're learning from what is happening. The first one is over-dependence. One of the clearest lessons from the COVID-19 crisis was the importance of diversifying sources of supply.
Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, speaking at a news conference in Geneva, Switzerland. And that's all for business. Before we go, let's turn our attention to the stock market. If you are a shareholder of Enterprise Group, well, the value of each share that you are holding today was up by 3 pesos to close at 2 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos. If you also have invested on the Ghana Stock Exchange from the beginning of the year to now, your returns are now more than 23%. And tonight on PM Express Evans, you're talking the mining sector. We're engaging the Deputy Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, Isaac Andrew Stando. Issues about gold fields, issues about government pusher, the impact on FDIs, and also what will be the fate of workers going forward after Friday events.
Thank you very much. Let's do sports now.
Yes, Evans, to start with
this
some...
is the Arsenal man. Say something to him.
Yes. No, the question is, do you think you can win the Champions League after?
let's take each game at a time. I think it's too early days yet to say that because you beat
We're in
Real
the
Madrid.
semi-finals.
Yes, let's cross that lap and let's see.
Okay, that's fair. Just keeping you. But congratulations. I think it was a
Thank you.
victory against Madrid. Congratulations. Let's do some athletics now. And Ghana's William Mponsa has set a new national record in the men's 10,000 meters, shattering the previous record by 2 minutes. The 25-year-old Texas A&M student athlete set the new record of 7 minutes 47.93 seconds at the Brian Clay Invitational earlier today, barely a year after setting the previous record. And Mponsa, with that time, set a new NCAA record after finishing fourth in the same event last year. Well, Mponsa currently holds the NCAA cross-country individual national title, winning in consecutive years, and Mponsa will be hoping to make the mark in order to be part of Ghana's team for the World Athletics Championships. That's one Ghanaian athlete who's making Ghana proud. To the Ghana Under-20 team now, and they are getting ready for the Under-20 African Cup of Nations tournament to be played in Egypt. They've been training at the Accra Sports Stadium for the past weeks now ahead of the tournament, which is set to start on the 27th of this month. The head coach is Desmond Ofei, and he's been speaking about the team's readiness for the competition.
It's been quite tough, but luckily, like I said, we started in February with the local boys. We assessed over 78 players, combination of Premier and Division 1, and the remaining players, additional maybe 25 players that came from lower divisions and also academy. Try to give the boys that went to Togo an opportunity to reclaim their spots. And in the end, I think we took it down to how the squad look like now is almost 50-50.
Desmond Ofei. Well, Man United is playing Lyon tonight, and guess what? Onana is returning to the starting lineup after being dropped over the week, and Amorim says he's going to be playing. Not sure how you feel about that, but first leg and 2-2, right?
Yeah.
Can you make it?
And
to
we
the
struggle
semifinal?
at Old Trafford instead of
you did.
we go away. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, let's see how you fare. We'll see how you
thank
fare.
you, Ms. Bao. Now, the old and new markets in Bolgatanga are facing growing fire risk, raising concerns among traders and shoppers there. Now, though the last major blaze at the old market happened over a decade ago, a recent fire near the new market just 4 months back has sparked renewed fears. As part of our Breaking the Fire Cycle series, Joy News' Upper East regional correspondent, Abesoy, reports from Bolgatanga.
The Upper East regional capital, Bolgatanga, has two main markets, the old market and the new market. The Bolgatanga markets have been quite fortunate to escape fire disasters for a long time now. However, the Bolgatanga markets are not completely safe from the danger of fire disasters. During a visit by Joy News, it was revealed that open burning of plastic and other waste is a common practice in both markets due to the lack of proper waste management systems. Linda Akupa is a leader of the Market Women's Association.
At times we just take this in the rust and just burn it there. So after the burning, you can't stand after the burning to go. You can just start and burn the thing walking away.
The fire risks are compounded by the congestion in these markets caused by unauthorized structures.
We as the market women, you have our place. Everybody is supposed to sit inside the shop. And the thing is not big like that.
It is not right for us to light fires anywhere at all within the market, but some do that. You might finish cooking or even smoking and fail to properly put out the fire. And if the wind blows and ignites a fire during the night when no one is here, you can imagine what would happen.
The Ghana National Fire Service in the Upper East region, led by Regional Commander Richard Absafo Sego, acknowledges these ongoing risks in the Bolgatanga markets.
Some of the major hazards that we normally identify are naked fires, that the market women mostly cook in the markets before they cruise, and then illegal connections.
The commander said There were teams present within both markets to educate traders on fire safety and serve as first responders.
Routinely, we meet the market leaders to discuss about the challenges that they are facing and the service as a whole. We've also earmarked all the markets as fire stations. We man there 24/7.
Joy News found that the team's operational bases in both markets are located within incomplete and poorly maintained structures.
We are forming a task force. This time when we come, whatever we can do for us not to experience the fire outbreaks, we are going to do it.
As the Bolgatanga markets remain a vital hub for commerce, the safety of traders and customers hangs in the balance. The call for a comprehensive waste management system and stricter enforcement of market regulations is urgent to prevent potential fire outbreaks in these busy markets. Reporting for Joy News, Albert Sori, Bolgatanga.
A few of your messages on our WhatsApp console now. And then Kwama Boateng in Ablukuma says the NDC's first 100 days in government have been nothing but lawlessness, doomsday, and abuse of power. The government adjusted public sector workers' salaries by just 10%, but slapped them with a whopping 14.75% electricity tariffs and a 4.02% water tariff. Resetting agenda indeed. Abdul Hamid in Tamale says the issue of tramadol abuse in Tamale involves some prominent people in the town. The drug enters the northern region through Togo and Burkina Faso borders, and even some health workers are complicit in the issue. Jeffrey in Ablukuma says, how on earth do you even give attention to the opposition who have absolutely nothing to offer Ghanaians? In what position are they to rate the government's performance? Samin Kumasi says, Richard Ahiagba just wanted his voice to be heard on Joy FM. At what level did they fight the Galamsey menace when they were in power? And Atan Gubiodoko in Bolga, Main Lorry Park, says the illicit drugs commonly used by the youth in the Upper East Regional Capital, including Timakin 120 mg and Tramakin 250 mg. The shells of these products can be found at the lorry station and the drinking spots, which are located very close to basic school parks. Those are your messages on our WhatsApp console. Now, health experts, researchers, and clean air advocates are demanding urgent action to end what they call a silent public health crisis at the maiden public lecture organized by the Ghana Thoracic Society on air pollution, the neglected killer. They call for a national clean air policy and strict enforcement of environmental laws. My colleague, Michael Ashali, has more.
Air pollution, the silent killer, is taking a deadly toll on Ghana. Researchers say it claims more than 28,000 lives annually. That's one person every 19 minutes. And the numbers are climbing. Children are among the hardest hit. A recent study by pediatric pulmonologist Dr. Sandro Kwatin Owusu found that exposure to harmful pollutants peaks during school commutes.
And we realized that for most of the children, during the time they are on their way to school, so during commuting to school, they had higher levels of exposure. And then for another group, the children on the school compound, so there was one particular school where the children had a lot of exposures during the day.
In Ghana, the situation is dire. Our average air quality is 12 times worse than WHO's recommended limits. Desmond Appiah is the country lead of Clean Air Fund.
Air pollution is now the #1 environmental challenge in the world and in Ghana, and there are a number of reports attesting to that. So it is because it is not visible most of the time, it's easy for us to push it to the back burner.
One of the hardest culprits, Ghana's public transport system. The high-emitting, fuel guzzling vehicles that line our roads. Clean Air Fund's Desmond Appiah says the gap must be fixed and quickly.